It's time for Coffee with the Chicken Ladies, a podcast for people who love chickens.
Hey everybody, and welcome. It's Chrisie&Holly from Coffee with the Chicken Ladies. We're here, and this is episode number 232 of our podcast, where we talk about everything chicken, family, fun, and
more chickens.
More chickens! We drink a ton of coffee. I'm talking a ton. But most importantly,
we hug chickens every day.
And we kiss them too, don't forget. We brew coffee from a little coffee roaster in Houston, Texas. Bright and early coffee. Holly Ann, what kind of coffee are we brewing today?
Hazelnut.
Yeah, we love that hazelnut. And if you're not enjoying it with us and you are missing out, where should everybody go to get themselves some of this delicious hazelnut coffee?
brightandearlycoffee.com.
And if you use K-Cups, go on over to Amazon. We have a code. It's CWTCL 15 for 15% off of bagged coffee. And follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Are you ready to sip some of this delicious hazelnut coffee and chat?
I am. But first, a word from our sponsor.
We have some exciting news to share from our sponsor, Grubbly Farms. They're here, new and improved, Grubbly's World Harvest.
I'm a longtime subscriber, and my flock love the healthy, nutritious treats, plus orders $40 and more ship free.
If you haven't heard, Grubbly's has a fantastic layer pellet and crumble feed. It's packed with plant and insect protein, perfect for those picky chickens and ducks.
Grubbly Farms makes food and treats for healthy pets and planet.
To support us and Grubbly Farms, use the link grubbly.co/coffee. Try it today. It's finally super nice outside, yeah!
If by super nice you mean hot, then yeah.
I wasn't really hot. It's the first day that I have shorts on. No, I take that back. The second day that I've put on like athletic shorts to work outside in the yard. Mm-hmm. Every other day I've had on leggings or sweatpants or something. So I'm like, yeah, comfy.
Okay.
How are you doing?
I've been feeling like it's pretty hot because I've been shearing.
Oh, yeah.
Just hot and dirty work. So we're not even halfway through yet, but that's okay. Slow and steady wins the race. All I need is naked sheep at the end of this 10-day period, and we're fine.
I need to shear one Cavalier King Charles Spaniel named Sweetie, and that gets pretty itchy just with one dog, so I can't imagine sheep. But although they probably don't shed as much, like, does it all come off? Like, is it, or do you get that loose hair on you?
No, you do have some. Usually it stays together and it's kind of sticky because of the lanolin.
Yeah.
But everything else that's on them, dust and pollen and dirt and everything else is all over you by the time you're finished.
What's wrong with like the dogs when you clip them down is that little short hair that you get, it just gets in your bra and everything. And you're like so itchy by the end.
Well, that's a daily on a farm, especially if you're feeding hay.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm just excited that we've had the sun out for a few days now. The news says we're in a drought. Last year at this point, we were about ankle plus high in mud, if you remember correctly. It was so rainy.
It's a huge problem. I mean, a lot of other states had it, but right here in the area of Maryland where we are, everyone who has hay for their livestock, it was getting moldy because it was just constant rain and humidity.
I think last year this time we were complaining because it was like 2 or 3 weeks of rain every single day. And I couldn't even walk in the runs without sinking with boots on. It was so bad. I felt so bad for the chickens. So I'm kind of thankful for the dry weather. At least it's easier on them.
I mean, I have to water the garden, especially new stuff that I've planted, but everything looks great. I appreciate the sunshine.
Oh, yeah. It helps everything. It helps everything. But the knee doesn't help the knee. I wish it did. I'd just like stick my knee out the window for a while.
Solar therapy for knee problems.
This new innovative therapy for your knee. Stick it out the window and let the soak drench it, and it gets better. That would be great.
People have tried sunbathing all kinds of odd body parts at times, so it doesn't sound as far-fetched as it may be.
No, not at all. Well, on that note, if you're listening to our show and you're loving it, head on over to Apple Podcast and leave us a written review. It does amazing things for the growth of our show. We love to read them. We would love to see a new one on there. So you might be that person that could make our day. And hit that subscribe button because you never want to miss the fun. And they count them.
If you're looking for other ways to help support the show, you can tell a few chicken, goose, or duck-loving friends about us. You can share your favorite episodes on social media. You can become a patron of the show, patreon.com/coffeewiththechickenladies. Thank you to all of our wonderful patrons. And the other thing you can do to help support the show is visit our website in our show notes, use our affiliate links and discount codes, and buy products from our sponsors.
Yay!
So, winter is coming.
It's better when Sean Bean says it.
Can you stay on topic for just a minute?
What topic?
Winter. Well, chickens, obviously. And igloo coops from Omelette.
Oh, yeah. You got to have an igloo for winter.
If you don't know igloos, they're engineered for extremes. Double insulated, waterproof, and stormproof.
They keep out any weather and all predators.
And you can just wipe them clean.
My girls and little man are so comfy in their Igloo Pro.
Mine too. Warm and dry all year round.
Winter is coming.
Be ready with an igloo.
Search Omelette. That's OMLET.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Do you like monthly subscriptions?
Does it have anything to do with chickens?
Of course.
Then yeah. Let us take a minute to tell you about Chicken Love.
You get a monthly Chicken Lady tee, treats for your flock, and a keeper care card.
And did you know with every multi-month subscription, you get a free Chicken Love logo t-shirt?
Really?
Yeah.
It's $36 a month with free shipping.
What are you waiting for? Get off the nest and click already. That's chickenlove.com. That's chickenluv.com. Get your subscription today.
The Breed Spotlight is brought to you by Murray McMurray Hatchery, defining quality for generations. For over a century, Murray McMurray Hatchery has remained a trusted family-owned business, working tirelessly to ensure our poultry meet the highest standards.
Whether you are an experienced enthusiast or just embarking on the journey, look to McMurray Hatchery for guaranteed quality, rare and heritage breeds, low minimums, and all the supplies you need to raise your flock. Request a free catalog today. I'm not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away this week's Breed Spotlight. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this week's Breed Spotlight is
The Plymouth Rock Chicken, specifically the Barred Rock Chicken.
the Plymouth Barred Rock, one of the most iconic American chickens out there.
It wasn't around during colonial or early America, though.
But you just feel like it. So it made
do?
you want to, yeah.
Okay.
It makes you want to sing that song.
I
you
mean,
know?
maybe if we were doing the Dominique, I would have been like, yeah, that's very appropriate. But
Hey, it just made me think of that song. That's
okay.
all.
The beautiful Barred Rock Chicken is one of the most popular breeds in the U.S., and they have a pretty strong following in the rest of the world as well.
They're very, very popular.
They are. They are a very pretty dual-purpose breed that is as much at home on a small farm as they are on the show table. The name Plymouth Rock has led some people to believe that this chicken arrived in the U.S. on the Mayflower, but this is not true.
We've said this, I think, like 100 times.
Yeah, and I'm going to continue to say it. The Mayflower reached land in 1620, and the first Plymouth Rock chickens didn't show up for another 230 years.
They're newcomers, according to the Plymouth Mayflower.
I mean, they were well into the second half of the 1800s.
Yeah.
It really was a long while. If you want more information about the possibility of chickens on the Mayflower, check out episode number 51, which was, I think, our original Thanksgiving episode.
That was a fun episode where we talked about that stuff. That was one of the ones that I loved. I love recording all of them, but that was one that stands out because it's a holiday. We talked about different myth busting things. It was nice.
I don't know if our listeners like our holiday episodes as much as we do, but we really like our holiday episodes.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Now, the Barred Rock first appeared in the American Poultry Association Standard of Perfection in the first printing in 1874. They remained very popular until after the World Wars, and like most of the other heritage breeds, they declined along with the advent of heavy-duty industrial farming, factory farming.
Yep.
But we have some great news about the Plymouth Barred Rock because numbers are now high enough that they have graduated from the Livestock Conservancy's conservation priority list. They graduated in 2023.
And I'm not surprised you can get them at every local farm store and every different type of variety that you want. You can get them through hatcheries. The availability is amazing for this chicken. If you have or dream of seeing that lovely Barred Rock in your flock, you can get one.
The Plymouth Rock, for a lot of reasons, was a strong favorite amongst the early poultry historians. In the New American Poultry book, John Taggart spends 2 pages basically singing a love song to the Plymouth Rock.
You're not a fan of the sentimental love song, I don't think.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
What if Pete wrote you one?
Pete didn't write me any love songs. That's
Pete,
why I married him.
Are you listening? You better write this woman a love song.
Pete's a romantic guy. Like, he'll give me flowers and he'll do little things for me, but he does not write me poetry or love songs, and I'm okay with that.
How about dancing?
No, there is no dancing. There is, however, livestock and fencing and things like that. So that's all the romance that I need. Flowers and chickens. That's what we got. That's what we got over here. Now, back to John Taggart, right? Back to John Taggart. John Taggart calls the Barred Rock the best all-purpose fowl and an unequaled, out-and-out American breed that can adapt to pretty much anything.
It's kind of true.
I mean, they're solid chickens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, over in the UK, Lewis Wright takes considerable interest in them, and he devotes an entire chapter to them in Wright's Book of Poultry. Of course, right. I mean, there were some of the American breeds that he really, really liked, and the Barred Rocks were right up there. Just about any poultry journal from the late 1800s and early 1900s will have at least one article devoted to the Plymouth Barred Rock. People love this chicken.
The one thing to me that's really beautiful about this chicken is the red and the black and white together, and they stand out so much.
It's very graphic contrast, the red, white, and black, and it is very pretty. It's very attractive. Now, in the mid to late 1800s, there were several breeders working on Plymouth Rock breeding programs in the New England area, and they all had the same goal, and that was a true dual-purpose American chicken. And they got it done, even though there were at least 7 of them claiming that their strain was the true Plymouth Rock.
Damn. Sorry.
7 of them. Yeah.
7 of them, like, trying to claim one chicken.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
Various sources mention that the Barred Rock was first introduced to the public in 1850 by John Bennett from Massachusetts. Now, John Bennett was the author of the American Poultry book, which was published in 1851. He was also well known in the show circuit at that point. Well, the birth of the show circuit, since it was pretty new then.
Right.
John Bennett claimed that he developed the breed and he named them as well. And his mix included Cochins, Dorkings, and recently arrived West Indian chickens. For whatever reason, these chickens did not prosper, and this early form of the Plymouth Rock slid off the page for a couple of decades. In 1869 and 1870, they popped up again. This time it was that Barred Rock, beloved of so many. The Barred Plymouth Rock were the first color developed, and to this day they remained the most popular variety with backyard or hobby chicken farmers.
I mean, there's more and more varieties popping up.
And they're all beautiful, but Barred Rock is by far the favorite.
The other thing is they're a foundation breed used in a lot of different birds to get different things.
Also in hybrid breeding too, so yeah.
Exactly.
Now, according to the American Poultry Association Standard of Perfection, the foundation breeds for the Barred Rock are supposed to be a Dominique rooster and black Cochin hens or black Java hens. I buy that all day long. That sounds completely plausible.
No doubt. And those Java hens are one of our favorites, and they are as utilitarian than you can get.
Right. So the stripes, that barring gene, would have originally come from a Dominique rooster.
Yeah.
Males have 2 copies of the gene and females have 1, and this causes incomplete pigmentation on dark feathers. The result is a black feather with bars of no pigment. So there's bars that are white in appearance. The Barred Rock, especially the hens, tend to have a wider and more graphic, more regular black and white bar than the Dominique. The Dominique's barring is slightly smaller and more jagged.
Also, like the Morans, the cuckoo Morans, it's way different than them too. You can see a difference side by side.
Right. They're all cuckoo patterns, but they have variations, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, because roosters have 2 copies of the genes, their feathers are a bit lighter in color, and they do have slightly smaller barring than the Barred Rock hens. And also because of their genetics, Barred Rocks are extremely popular foundation breeds for auto-sexing chickens.
They're so popular. There's so many things about this chicken. I feel like somewhere along the line, if you're going to be a backyard farmer, you're going to have a Barred Rock at some point.
They were in my first flock. And I'm not quiet about the fact that Dominiques are my preference.
Right.
But there's nothing wrong with the Barred Rock. And if you told me that I could never have anything but Barred Rocks forever, I'd be fine with that.
I mean, I still have one of my 3 Barred Rocks. She's 7, Poppy. And she is one of those chickens that is solid. I love hugging her, and the thing is,
they're big, they're beautiful, they're usually pretty calm, but they're not pushovers.
She's calm, but she's not one of mine that loves to be held.
Right.
She'll come right up to me, let me pet her, all those things. I can pick her up, but she's kind of looking at me like, are you going to put me down?
Yeah. She's not a snuggle buddy, but she likes to be around you.
And it's so funny because right now in the spring, she'll lay some eggs for me because let's keep in mind, she's 7.
Right.
And she'll run in the coop to show me as soon as I go out there.
I love when they do that. It's so sweet.
Yeah, and I know her eggs, and I actually have a really good picture that I'm going to put up of because they're pinkish.
Yeah.
Her eggs are pinkish.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you did it, and they're big eggs.
That's so cute. I love that.
Let's kind of get into what they look like. The Plymouth Barred Rocks, they're large. They're gorgeous, handsome, all the things. Black and white barred chickens with pretty laid-back personalities. They can be a chicken that will jockey for position, though.
They can, especially if you have them in numbers.
Right. So I've had 3, and they kind of band together.
Mm-hmm. And they can make a girl gang. They can.
And they kind of did that when they were chicks. That's how I got bald neck Bernadette, because Bernadette was the one, remember, that they were attacking her neck, and we had to put hot sauce on her neck to stop them from doing that.
I was literally in the middle of a sip of coffee when you said bald neck Bernadette. It took every ounce of self-control I have not to spit that all over the recording equipment.
They did it when she was like 3 weeks, and
I remember.
that nickname never left. She had it forever. But,
her little neck was really inflamed from that.
It was. She went on antibiotics. She went on all the things. So they can kind of team up and have that. I went off topic. Let's get back to what they look like. They do have beautiful yellow legs. So think about yellow legs, black and white feathering, and a beautiful red straight comb, red faces, red earlobes, and they're long, broad bodies. And when you pick up a Barred Rock, they're sturdy. You're going to feel
a solid bird that's good for hugging.
I always say when something's sturdy, I say it's like a tank. And that's kind of what they remind me of. It's like just something really, really sturdy. Roosters are going to weigh in between 8 and 9.5 pounds. They're not little. They're pretty. They can be big.
Those boys are beautiful too.
They are. And the hens are coming in between 6 and 7.5 pounds. 7.5 pounds, that's what June is out there. She's a little over 7 pounds. That's a big chicken.
My Barred Rocks, and we're talking over 20 years ago, my Barred Rocks were big girls.
Yeah, they're pretty big. And they're not just big. They're like dense. They're like
sturdy. They're sturdy chickens. Yeah.
I say it. They're like a tank. Plymouth Rocks also come in these colors: white, buff, silver penciled, partridge, Colombian, and blue. You imagine how pretty? The Barred Rock is the most familiar of the breed. So, like I said, you can find them everywhere. You go to any feed supply store, they're going to usually have Barred Rocks.
I mean, if I had my choice with some of the other colors, I would be all over the silver pencil, which is stunning. They have like dark Brahmas.
Right.
And the partridge. You don't see the partridge that often, but it is beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. And, I do have a Barred Rock and I do have a Cuckoo Marantz. They look very different. I can tell them from way back the difference in them.
Well, if you line up a Barred Rock and a Cuckoo Marantz and a Dominique with just a little bit of observation, you're going to be able to tell them apart.
Right. So, and then I say to myself, would I do Barred Rocks again? I would. I mean, honestly, they're a good, reliable chicken that just all the things. They're, but the only thing to keep in mind is personality. They can want to jockey for that head position in bigger groups.
They can upset the apple cart if things don't go their way. I mean, they can get very girl gangish, like we said. You just have to keep an eye on that.
Or a peach cart, too.
That, too. As long as it's not the egg cart, we're fine.
So let's talk about their eggs. They're really good layers of large brown eggs. Poppy lays one that's pinkish in color. Mm-hmm. And it's really pretty. You can really see the difference. 200 plus eggs per year for the first few years. That's a really good category to be in. So it averages out 4 eggs per week or so. And they're not known to go broody. They're not all into the mama thing. So that's another reason why they're great. Their laying will start to slow down after the first 2 or 3 years, but they will still lay some respectable numbers of eggs as they age. Like I said, mine is 7 and she's still laying me eggs.
Yeah.
And they're decent winter layers. They're going to start end of December and January.
Yeah, they start quite early. It's really nice if you are desperate for fresh eggs come winter.
So they're also great with people. We have people out there that come to us all the time and talk about the barred rocks and how much they love them. So when we talk about them, they can be a little spicy. We're talking about with your flock dynamics. We're not talking about with people.
Right. They are friendly and laid back, and they're happy to just hang out with your families. Like you said, not everyone is a cuddle bug, but some of them are. It's individual.
Right. I have this memory. It's like when Buttercup was still alive, she would be the girl to take all the pictures because she was like the fashion model.
Buttercup was one of your Buff Orpingtons.
Yeah. And she would like pose almost like put the butt forward, do this, do that. And I'm like, okay, I have her for enough pictures. So I'm going to do Poppy. And my memory is I go to grab Poppy and I'm holding Poppy. Poppy's great. Put Poppy down. I chase Poppy for a half an hour. It's sticker bushes.
She's like, nope.
I'm like,
nope.
You're out here for a photo shoot. This is not
I am
for
not
you.
America's Next Top Model. No, no, and no.
And she was like, and then she would just be looking at me through the brush. And I'm like, oh no, I'm coming in to get you. I was like, oh man, girl. So
I bet that was the last time you tried that with Poppy.
That was with Tom, my neighbor's red truck. And I
remember that. I remember that. Yeah.
I was like, forget it. That's it.
Keep in mind the things we said. In general, they are great additions to a mixed flock, but with them, you want to keep a close eye on flock dynamics and make sure they have enough space in the coop and run.
Yeah.
Because they're another bird that gets bored and it doesn't go well.
Now I got then the same year I got Lucy. So Leghorns are good. They're good together.
Lucy could get out of their way.
Yeah. Lucy's like, yeah, I'm quick.
Is they can become bullies if they're bored. They can also cause some trouble if they're kept in a flock where they're in the middle of the pecking order with very docile chickens below them, because then they're going to push the bullying down the line.
They want to jockey for position. So if they're like, oh, we can overtake this leader, they're going to try it.
Like several of the American breeds, barred rocks do reasonably well in both heat and cold. You'll still need to take precautions to protect their combs from frostbite, because the hens can have good-sized combs. The roosters can have very big combs.
Yeah, they can have pretty big combs. So that's what your fear is. With the cold, they got a lot of body weight, but the feathers, they don't have a lot of fluff. They don't have those big fluff underlayers like the other fluffy chickens have. So you just have to watch, but they do compensate in having a bigger body structure.
So my barred rocks were Babette and Sylvia. And Babette had probably the fluffiest butt I've seen on a barred rock.
Yeah, they can have a fluffy butt, but like the body, it's not fluffy. It's like they're not fluffy underneath, I feel.
And like you said, they do have a big body. And because of that, while they manage reasonably well in the heat, because they have so much body mass, they need a lot of shade, cool water, and fans, all of those things that you would give, because the heat is so dangerous for chickens.
It's actually, I hate the heat more than the cold, to be honest with you. And I've said this so many times.
Yeah. So you really take precautions for the heat. For the heat, it's like you need to do the things before you see them getting super hot.
Right. It's scary. Last year was so bad that I'm like, I kind of have PTSD over like the summer coming this year with heat.
Yeah.
And so I'm like hoping that it's a different, every season is different. So maybe it won't be as hot.
Sometimes we have beautiful mild summers. I would be on board for one of those this year.
Oh, yeah.
Now, these girls and guys are also pretty good foragers, and they will appreciate as much free range time as you can give them.
Yeah.
They like to be scratching and digging.
And they're dual purpose. They're great for homesteads. But keep in mind, they're a heritage breed. They do mature slower than other chickens.
Right.
So keep that in mind. And they're great show birds as well. Having so many different varieties, they look great in that show ring, in the show cages out there.
We saw some gorgeous, gorgeous barred rocks at the Ohio Nationals. I mean,
oh, yeah.
Stunning birds. But they're one of those breeds because there are so many color varieties. You can have a really diverse looking flock, but I'll have all Plymouth rocks.
Yeah, exactly. I love those. Those are like the chickens that I love. They're all the same type, but they all look different. And they all have kind of the same characteristics. Yeah, I would definitely have Barred Rocks again, for sure.
I always found that they were some of my favorite chickens to watch because they were always digging and scratching and doing their thing, all that relaxing.
If you want to see Poppy, she's on a lot of our videos on social media. She's always out there.
She's beautiful.
Sometimes she's missing some fluff feathers because over the winter when they were in, everybody decided to eat some feathers.
Oh my God.
Yeah, was not fun. Not fun over the winter or summers. Come on. I need to go to a place where it's 65 all year round.
Oh, amen to that. I would be right there. That sounds amazing.
Be awesome. So here's the big question. We're going to tell everybody, where do you go to get the Barred Rocks besides your local feed stores, which will definitely have them? Where else can you go?
McMurray Hatchery has beautiful Barred Rocks. They also have white rocks, and their silver penciled partridge and buff Plymouth rocks are all APA approved flocks, meaning that they meet show standard. So you can get lots of colors there.
I think they would be on my list one year, to be honest with you, for next chicks.
I really would have a hard time choosing between the silver penciled and the partridge. I think the partridge rocks are stunning. But yeah, like we said, you can't go wrong with a straight up Barred Rock.
I think I would get one Barred Rock or two, and then a silver penciled, and a partridge. That's where I would go with those and have a variety of them. Because, they're just really good chickens.
They're classic American birds.
They are. Okay. Before we move on, if you have Barred Rocks, we know a lot of you have Barred Rocks out there. We want to flood our messages with pictures of your Barred Rocks. We want to put them on our stories. Hit the mention button, put our name in. It shares it directly to our messenger on Instagram, and I will give you a share.
Are you ready to dive into the fascinating world of backyard ducks? Look no further than Metzer Farms, your premier destination for top quality waterfowl. Whether you're a seasoned breeder or just starting out, Metzer Farms has everything you need to elevate your flock to the next level. And if you're passionate about call ducks, you're in for a treat.
Metzer Farms hatches a stunning variety of call ducks, meticulously bred for their miniature size, beauty, and calm temperament. From snowy whites to vibrant colors, each duck is a masterpiece waiting to grace your backyard. Visit MetzerFarms.com today to browse their extensive selection and start your journey into the wonderful world of waterfowl. Metzer Farms, where passion meets perfection.
If you're looking for a chicken coop that's produced in a planet-friendly, sustainable way, try Nestera.
Each coop is made from highly durable, 100% recycled plastic that keeps the equivalent of up to 2,000 shampoo bottles out of a landfill.
Their clean, modern design will fit into any garden or run area and comes with an industry-beating 25-year warranty and a range of handy accessories.
Simple to put together, so quick and easy to clean, and most importantly, red mite resistant. Your chickens will love it.
Quick shipping from Nestera US.
For a 5% discount, use the affiliate link in our show notes, on our website, and on Instagram. Link in bio. Check them out today. Are we ready to move on to main topic? Yeah.
Yeah. This week, we are super excited to introduce our guest to you. We have Daniel Salatin of Polyface Farms with us. Now, if you've been anywhere around the homesteading scene the last couple of years, you've probably seen Daniel giving fantastic talks at all of the homesteading conferences. And in fact, he's going to be talking with us today about micro-scale rotational grazing. We can't wait to get into this conversation. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, ladies. I'm thrilled to be here. Yeah, it's going to be a fun time.
Welcome to the table. And we met you in Iowa at the Murray Fest, and it was so great to meet you. It was funny because my husband was like, I'm going in. He didn't go into very many talks, but he was like, I'm going into rotational grazing. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's cool. So yeah, he didn't meet you, but he saw you up on stage and he was like, yeah, you're really good.
Oh, so thank you. I appreciate that. It's really great to meet y'all. Heard so many good things about you and your podcast and so many classes that you do and things. So it's a pleasure to have met you and then to be on here as well.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. It's like you're a friend now and you're, at the table with us. So what we wanted to start off with is talking a little bit about you and your family and your farm and what you do, because maybe there are some people, some of our listeners out there that are just not quite sure exactly what it is.
Sure. Sure. No, that's totally reasonable. I run a lot of the day-to-day operations on Polyface Farm. We're out right in Swope, Virginia, the thriving metropolis of a post office and a lot of cows. We're just outside of Stanton, Virginia, about 10 miles. We raise beef, grass-fed, grass-finished beef, pigerator or pastured pork. Pigerating means they stir in compost and are exercising that, and then or they're out on pasture or in wooded savanna-style paddocks. Of course, we raise a lot of pastured poultry meat birds, about 20 to 30,000 of those every year. We have about 4,000 to 5,000 layers and do some turkeys as well, table birds and cut ups and grinders, things like that. The odd, rabbits, a few sheep, guard dog here and there, that kind of stuff. So anyway, a very diverse, but all for meat and protein based. And we also we're starting to get into a little more hatching and kind of raising some of our own birds for layers. So kind of working on some genetic stock there. Might have time to chat about that now or another time. But the idea of just being a little more resilient and making sure that we have some birds that really work for us on the layer side.
We are heritage breed girls from way back. So before we get into the grazing, tell us a little bit about that. Are there any particular breeds that you're
Holly's like, what breeds am I going to be adding to my flock? Please tell me about this.
Right. No additional real breeds. We started with kind of like a barred rock or, some black Astrolorp, just a hardy brown egg layer, nothing fantastic. And our goal was mainly to just get a bird. And so I'm kind of getting the cart before the horse because we're not releasing all this just yet in-house at the moment. And we're not keeping genetics and there's no, special breed that you're going to be able to buy. But basically we're survival of the fittest people. And so with all of the medical stuff going around with, health and stuff issues with poultry right now, that's kind of something that we started about 10 years ago, actually, we got to producing all of our own layers in the last 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
And so we've kind of been all in-house from our layer production since, the early 2000s or 2020. And our goal was just a hardy bird that didn't need to be bothered. I'm going to sound very old at the moment, but when I was a kid, we used to get layers, Rhode Island Reds, Barred Rocks, etc. This is no knock on any hatchery or any breed whatsoever. And we would just take them, we'd put them in the brooder, we'd feed them chick starter, we'd feed them grower, developer, whatever. And at 18, 20 weeks, they just start laying and everything's easy and it's no problem. As things got a little more hybridized and it's harder to get more purebreds and it was just more difficult, the birds got more flighty. They got more just like little red dinosaurs running around. They were just kind of goofy. They were more susceptible to things. We had the whole, we didn't have the feed balanced right. And so we had a whole batch that stayed in the pullet egg stage, the whole
Oh, wow.
life. So we just kind of ran into things like that. And we're like, well, what the heck's going on? This doesn't make any sense. And so anyway, we just started messing around with this. And of course, we run our birds in what we call an egg mobile. And so for those who are not familiar, that is a completely free range setup where the birds go in at night. We close up the little doors for them to go in. And then we can move them behind the cows and they scratch through the cow pats, eat out fly larvae, sanitize, parasites, things like that. And then they're totally free range. Well, we admit that has a higher mortality rate. Like there is just natural aerial predation that is going to hit those birds.
Exactly.
And they have to learn to go inside. And we know that the bird doesn't have a lot of room for a lot of information in their brain. So we want them to, they're very smart and they're very intelligent to do what they do. But we were finding a more difficult time to get them to go up the ramps, go inside, up on the perches and train. We're like, why is this so hard? When I was a kid, it was easy. It took like 3 nights of training. They would learn. It was easy. Yeah. And it was just turned into a week and then turned into 10 days. We're like, what is going on? Anyway, so bottom line is we just started saving survival of the fittest birds. We took 2-year-old birds. We put some roosters with them. We said, you've been in the egg mobile for 2 years. You're still laying an egg and you haven't gotten eaten by something. So congratulations. We like you.
Made it. Here's the thing. I know. Were you putting chocolates on their pillows at night?
No, I was not. Yeah.
That's what they were waiting for.
Right.
Come on.
The odds were in these birds' favor, apparently. But anyway, so we took them and we just bred them and we started doing that. And we're now into, 10, 12, 13 generations in and finding that they go up under shelter faster, under a shadow goes across, even if it's just a buzzard or something, they go across, boom, they're under shelter. They train a lot faster. They're a bigger, hardier bird. There's no feed adjustments through their growth period. I can't make a lot of promises about their lay rate and things like that. That's still in the flux. But just in general, of like survival of the fittest, a good bird that doesn't take a lot of extra time and care. That's kind of what we've been going for. So
essentially, you kind of like used your setup, your circumstances, your ecosystem, and made what's kind of a bulletproof bird for your system.
For us, exactly. And that's a very key component. Like, it's not something that I need to sell to Iowa or to Michigan or wherever.
But that's what people have been doing for thousands of years, is taking their climate, taking their situation. And that's why the birds are best in those areas. They're bred to survive there.
Sure. Why is there literally hundreds of birds, hundreds of different breeds? Because they have very, very microclimated results. And that's awesome. And that's the way it should be. So anyway, in the future, we may release some of these birds for people, want to get some hatching eggs or something like that. But in general, we're not trying to become a hatchery and
Right.
Let me just dispel that right there. But it's been fun, and we've learned a lot, and we're very satisfied. It's giving us the results that we wanted.
Yeah.
And the results that we were looking for. And that's all you can ask for.
That's fantastic, really. That's fascinating in a lot of ways.
It does sound like you took a lot of the hardy birds, like Barred Rock, Rhode Island Red, Astrolorps, those types of birds that are test time. They're like, they're sturdy. They're going to make it through.
Exactly. Yeah, we didn't start with anything crossed over if possible. Exactly. They have good hardy birds. And we do sell a lot of stewing hens at the end. So, going from a 3-pound stewing hen to a 4-pound stewing hen does have value for us. Putting on a bird with a lot of fat on it to be able to sell that old roasting bird is a good value to us. So having a bird that weighs a little more is something of value to us.
Yeah.
Well, that too, that people are going to feel good knowing that those birds lived out their life happy in an area where they were able to graze, they had good feed, they had protection at night. It does, on the moral side, make you feel a bit better about doing that.
Absolutely, for sure.
Now, let's get in a little bit to the rotational grazing.
Sure.
Tell us about that, and how can someone adapt the big picture, but into a smaller area? Say somebody has an acre or less.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. No, that is so important and I feel very passionate about this. I'm glad for the opportunity to speak about it, because if we're not careful, we have in our little town of Stanton, we're really close to Colonial Williamsburg, of course. We're about 4 hours from Colonial Williamsburg. We have a thing called the Frontier Culture Museum right here in Stanton. If you're ever in the area, it's a fun little place to check out. And it really shows how unportable the farmstead was for a period of our history.
Yeah.
Right. Log cabins, people that came over from Germany built rock houses, rock walls, the pig pen and things like that. And so the farmstead of the romanticized early turn of the century. So my big thing is the word migration. If you wanted to boil all this down into one word, it's migration. That's a word that everybody can understand. Everybody learned about. It's why we watch Discovery Channel. It's why we watch National Geographic Channel. We want to see those gigantic, massive mobs of migrating animals, and whether it be birds or herbivores or, even just a family of lions moving from one place to another. We're interested in that. That's amazing.
Right.
We get that. And so what's really important is when we've stopped migrating as a people group, right? When we stopped living in tents, for lack of a better term, and became permanent living and started saying, okay, this is even just the gold rush days where you go out and stake your claim. If you put down your 4 corners, this is your property and you can keep it and it's yours and you farm it and you take care of it. When that all happened, we had this really ugly duckling stage where we didn't have the portable infrastructure to be able to mimic migration.
Right. Exactly.
And so what that did is it created a lot of really dirty, problematic living environments for a lot of animals. It wasn't really natural. It was a kind of a bad situation. And so that's created a lot of sickness and disease and stuff that rolled into the early 1900s, created, medications, vaccines, confinement animal operations, things like that. So I digress to say the beautiful thing is now, whether you're doing something larger than us or something even as large as us, where you've got, 1,000 layers or a couple thousand layers, you can use some of that exact same infrastructure and boil it right down into your backyard. And it's very affordable. It's very usable, and it's very friendly to, going to work every day and you only have the weekends, or you only have one day off a week, or an evening here or there. It's very conducive to that. So the word I want everybody to drill down into is that migration idea.
Migration.
And poultry is no different than anything else. It needs to migrate. And so I would suggest, because what happens is, if you don't clean your bathroom, it gets pretty gross. And so we have the opportunity to be able to clean our bathroom, whereas The way the animals do that is by migrating away from their bathroom and letting it rest and recover and come back later.
So true. It's true.
So we have to think about those things. And so for someone who's just getting chickens or already has a few chickens in their backyard, we see this a lot, and I'm sure you ladies do as well, is this whole time they get the chickens, they turn them out the first day, and everything is great. The yard is green, the little run is perfectly green, and everything's wonderful, and it's all set up for the photo op, and oh, look how beautiful this is. And that's great. It might even last that way an entire year.
We call that the honeymoon.
Yes, that's what we call it, the honeymoon time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Everything's glorious. It's beautiful. There are no problems. Yeah, everyone loves everyone. Exactly. Even the mother-in-law. Anyway, sorry. And so what I'm getting at is what happens is that those plants begin to become weaker in that little run. And so you have to go one way or another. You have a crossroads, right? And so this is your opportunity to crossroads. And I'm sure you ladies have talked about this plenty on the podcast. You can either go to deep bedding and do, leaves and straw and wood chips and grass clippings and all that, and build bedding like on a
That's
weekly
what we
basis.
do. That's what we do.
Build substrate.
You have a permanent structure and build your compost and build your bedding that way. Or you have to go mobile. So either way works. You have that crossroad opportunity. So I won't go into the
other way is actually really hard too, because we dig out. So you have to dig out, and then you have to compost that stuff and then reuse it in the yard.
Yeah. You're talking about digging out substrate when it gets too built up.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, you have a permanent structure, but you have to work within that permanent structure. Or exactly what you said, your chickens are going to be sick. Yeah. So you have to dig out and resubstrate constantly.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And be adding stuff on top. So they're not just walking around in the same manure all the time.
Exactly.
And so you're adding that chips, you're adding that bedding, whether it's from a municipality chips or leaves in the fall or whatever, you've got to add that stuff. That's probably you can link to that podcast in the description below if you say right here. but for this, let's focus on the mobility part.
Yes, let's do it.
And so what I'm getting at is to mimic migration is that the typical animal did not come back to that plant species until it was up to its very close to or up to its original full growth potential. Okay. Now let me explain that a little bit. So if you have a grass plant, for example, let's take a dandelion. All right. A dandelion only grows a couple inches tall, 6 inches tall. Okay. When that dandelion reaches its full growth potential, all right, it's 6 inches tall. The chicken comes along, eats the whole thing off, mows it to the ground. The chicken then stays off of that plant until it regrows to its full potential of 6 inches. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you have a fescue plant or an orchard grass plant or something like that in your backyard, its full growth potential might be 4 or 5 feet in the head stage and only maybe 12 to 18 inches after the heading stage or the seed. I see the seed head stage, right? Now, chickens don't like going in the tall grass, so I totally appreciate you don't have to let your yard go to 3 feet tall before you bring the chickens. But that gives you an idea as to what I'm talking about as far as migration. We're not talking about a couple of days here. We're talking about weeks, maybe even months.
So how long should they stay in one area before you say, okay, so you should have a plan for for every so many months and have it plotted out. They're going to go here and then you reseed, afterwards?
Well, so the goal would be to not have to reseed, right? So the goal would be to leave the perennial grasses, whatever is there before, whether it be your Kentucky 31 fescue or whether it be some fancy
or your crabgrass weeds.
Exactly. Your crabgrass. Yeah,
it's green. Whatever's green.
That's right.
It's green. You mow it. It's fine.
So when do you move the chickens? How do you decide when do I move the chicken? You don't want to create a moonscape or a denuded ground or where there's no plants, right? So what I would encourage people to do, if you have a yard that's literally, 50 by 50 feet, I mean, we're talking teeny, I would much rather you put the chickens in a very small shelter coop that is very easily portable on a every couple of day basis. Because anytime from a grass perspective, I mean, we raise a lot of cattle, so we focus a lot on grass. So I'm a very big grass student. So when that grass plant gets cut down to very little, just think about that in the idea that it has no solar panel to regenerate its energy.
Because
right?
it's covered. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's all underground. It has nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And so it has to pull from a bank account of reserve, a safety value, a Dave Ramsey emergency fund, right? To send forth that next solar panel. And if it doesn't have the ability to send out that solar panel again, it can't collect any more energy. It can't replenish its emergency fund, and it gets depleted and dies. And then you back into the reseed. So I want people to be easy with their chickens, which means I don't want them to have to spend a lot of extra time raking out grass, putting in grass seed, all that. That makes chickens a nightmare. What I would rather see you do is to move them on a regular basis. And when I mean regular, I'm talking about every couple of days, because think about it. A chicken eats that plant down to nothing. The plant says, okay, I need to send out some more solar panels and I'm going to dip into my emergency fund to send it out. It does that. And that fresh little sprout is really, really tender and really, really full of protein for the chicken. And the chicken comes along and goes, nip.
Yeah.
Well, what happens? That grass plant has to dip into its emergency fund again. And it can only do that a couple of times before it dies, right? And so when I say move on a regular basis, you want the rest period to be until the plant regenerates to its full potential, but you also want to move the animals off before the plant tries to resprout again. So we're really talking about grazing day 1. The plant's kind of like, okay, what do I do next? Day 2. And it begins thinking about sending out a shoot day 3.
Okay.
So we are really talking about twice a week moves, if at all possible, at minimum.
Now, if you're having on a small lot and you have 4 to 6 chickens, this is where you want to look at your coop situation or your what we call the chicken trailer.
Sure.
And get something that you're able to handle so that you can move it. We know that Omelette has one that's great. That comes with the wheels. It's made for this. There are coops that are made for this way of chicken keeping. And it's real. It's a real deal.
Yes. And it's very simple. I mean, it literally is something you can grab on your way to work in your dress clothes and pull forward 3 feet, and you've moved the chickens. That's it. It's that simple, So it's got feed riding along with it. It's got water riding along with it. And you can literally just grab this thing and pull it forward 3 feet, and you've moved the birds. The kid pulls it on the way out to go to the school bus. It's super, super easy. And so I really encourage people to look into that, whether you use, if you've got a little bigger acreage and you can use some netting, the electric netting to keep them in and move them around with the netting, that's good. But again, you don't want to leave them in the same spot a long time, because it's very tempting to leave that coop in the middle, put the great big netting around it and say, oh, they're fine for a month. Well, but that's the plants that are right there underneath that coop or right around that coop are going to be the ones that are going to get killed. And then you're going to have a dead spot in your lawn. You're going to have to reseed, and you're going to lose grass productivity going forward, right? So it's all about that move. And so when I say, what are your guidelines? Your guidelines are full growth potential and or when that plant is ready to send out a new shoot. So again, here's an example. If it's winter time, and you got your birds outside, don't love that. It's not great. I prefer the deep bedding in the wintertime. But if you do, the plant is not going to be sending out a fresh shoot because the plant is dormant.
Right.
So you can cheat a little bit because the plant's not ready to send out. Same in a drought period. It's dry. If you live in the desert, you live in New Mexico or whatever, and there's no grass growing because you're not watering and it's just bare. Okay, the plant is not going to send out a shoot. So the birds can stay longer.
Right.
Okay. So think about this, in my climate, we're in the East Coast or, in Iowa, Tennessee, Kentucky, things like that.
We're just north of you in Maryland. So we're in the same. Yeah,
exactly. So you're thinking about that, and you've got this springtime coming on right now. I mean, think about how fast, if you go out and mow your grass today, how quickly it's got green shoots coming up again. You're like, wow, this is already resprouted.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're thinking about right now, especially in the springtime. And so really keep that in mind. So I really want to encourage folks to move that stuff, migrate those birds, because that's going to say, again, a couple of minutes a day or spending a little extra on a movable coop, like you said, and spending a couple minutes a day moving that coop is going to be way better than having dead spots all over your yard or having to reseed or things like that. And then at the same time, it's so much healthier for the bird. So
that's what I was just about to say. The grass is good for them in that aspect. Like eating that is what you want.
Right. And remember too, that the grass, when it's 3 to 4 inches tall or even 6 to 8 inches tall, it creates that opportunity for the manure. Okay. Not to be too graphic, but this is what's really important. The manure to go down through it. So as opposed to the grass being tall and laid over and creating like a thatch, like on an old roof that sheds water, you want it to stay erect. the point is when that goes through, the chickens are walking around on clean grass.
Right.
Okay. As opposed to the laid over thatch or a barren dirt land plot. Right.
Yeah.
And so then it creates a much healthier environment for the birds. And if that's what we're trying to accomplish, that's what we're really all about, is a healthy lifestyle for the birds. And when you have dead zones in your yard or your back lot because of leaving them too long, you lose areas where the birds are able to do that. And you create spaces for them to leave pathogens and diseases to pick up later.
Well, the other thing is this can make people happy that are in areas that have home associations and other things, because you are keeping your lawn from going bald by doing rotational grazing, and
100%.
you're keeping it healthy and a natural way. I feel like it's a good choice if you're in an area where you can do it.
It is 100% your best practice, because when you have ground cover, when the ground is covered, not only does it look good, it also protects the soil, less erosion, healthier environments, better water penetration. It has all those things. So when you have a healthy grass covered area, you have a much healthier ecosystem than bare dirt. That's the way it is.
Do you have any quick suggestions for someone that, say, maybe they have a stationary run, like aviary style, with a coop inside, but they free range their birds daily or every couple of days? You mentioned the netting. Would that be something good to just move the birds around?
If you have to do that, I would highly encourage the netting, because then the birds could be out in different spaces or different areas on a regular basis, and they're back into that coop/run on the permanent. And that really helps out. So no, the netting is a great option. And it also keeps them, out of your garden or out of your flower bed or off of your back porch. And so the netting allows you to do that as well. Absolutely.
That's great.
Now,
okay.
This has been so much fun, but we're running out of time.
Oh, dear.
So we actually have to get the question in that we ask every single person that comes on. We definitely want you to come back, Daniel, and talk to us again, because this is really, really good information for people who really want to do this at their home. And we have to ask you, what's your favorite breed of chicken?
That's great. No, my favorite breeds, I'd probably lean toward the Barred Rock. I think those are just a good old hardy bird. I think that the Silver Sussex are a really beautiful bird. I just am struck by the golden Sussex. They just have a wonderful plumage, a very pretty plumage. I think they're very pretty. Believe it or not, the black Astrolorps have a really pretty plumage as well. When
they're great birds.
They have that
green sheen.
Yes, that green sheen. Exactly. When the sun hits them, they're just gorgeous. So those would be some top three, maybe. I really enjoy those older style, nice brown egg layers, hardy birds, of course.
We feel like they're not getting as much love lately because everyone's on the rainbow egg train, but I mean, Astrolorps, like all three of those breeds, but I have a soft spot for the Astrolorps. I think they're fantastic birds that more people, especially beginners, should have.
And that's the thing too, like if you're starting with poultry is hard enough, like, right? There's a lot to learn and there's a lot to do. And birds, like I say, the more often an animal reproduces, the easier it is to die. So think about it, a chicken lays an egg almost every day. So they're reproducing themselves almost every day. That's how easy they die. So, and when you go to these rare breeds and these very fancy breeds, they become even more difficult, right?
Exactly.
So setting yourself up for success, don't try to, as much as I love a golden Polish or something that's really fun looking, go to a hardy breed.
I have two.
Well, we have even said, Chris, we have said that we don't think Polish are beginners. They're not beginners chickens. They're not.
We say they're not beginners, and we call them what, Holly Ann?
Fancy birds.
No, we call them
soft chickens.
Birds. Soft birds.
I 100% agree that if you get a hardier bird, it's a much easier to start with the chicken. So nice classic, some of those classic, whether it be a Buff Orpington or a Barred Rock or, some of those old style birds, they're super hardy. You can't kill them with a stick. And man, they're just hardy birds and are very easy to get started with.
Daniel, it's been so much fun. We definitely want to have you back on to talk with us again, because you have a big wealth of information that we can all benefit from.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure to be here, and I look forward to doing it again soon.
Where can our listeners find you?
If you're looking for any other information or some of my speech, if I'm looking for where I'm going to be speaking next or coming to the farm to visit, which we highly encourage you to do. If you're
we'll be there. We'll be there in a few days. Can we come visit?
Yes, please do. Please do. Come and visit. We have an open door policy. You can come anytime and come and visit the farm. And so just to look us up, we're at polyfacefarm.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook, all the social media stuff, but polyfacefarm.com will get you started in the right direction and just enjoy your journey from there.
Great. Thank you so much, Daniel. We really appreciate it.
Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
My pleasure, ladies. Take care.
Bye.
We just want to thank Daniel one more time for spending an hour chatting with us. Have some really great tips for rotational grazing for your flocks. It's good stuff.
Thank you, Daniel. We love to laugh and talk good stuff with you.
Our friends at Good Eggs solved the age-old question of how should I wash my eggs?
They're chicken people just like us who created the original silicone egg scrubber.
Both Chrissy and I use their brush and natural enzyme wash every time.
It's a total game changer.
It makes cleaning eggs so much faster and easier. Plus, they have a lifetime guarantee.
Good Egg is a small family business right here in the U.S., and they donate 10% of all profit directly to folks affected by cancer.
Go check them out at goodeggstuff.co.
That's goodeggstuff.co. Tell them Chrisie&Holly sent you. Okay, so we're ready to move on to
Cracking the eggs.
cracking those eggs. Oh, now it's just a mess of it. This week for cracking the eggs, we're doing
Eton, or let me say the British way. Eton Mess. Eton Eton. This is one of my favorite desserts. And because we are going to London the end of this month, we're doing fun British egg recipes for
yes, we are.
May.
For May.
So Eton Mess is named for Eton College, which is a famous public boys' school. I believe it's in Windsor. It's very close to Windsor Castle.
Nice.
Eton Mess is essentially juicy strawberries or a cooked strawberry compote mixed with thick sweetened whipped cream and crushed meringue. It is so good. It really is one of my absolute favorites. So I've made the meringue for this from chickens, ducks, and goose eggs, and they all work.
Nice.
If you're using waterfowl eggs, you want to add a teaspoon of vinegar to the meringues to the egg whites before you whip them.
Okay.
That helps to denature the proteins.
Okay.
And helps them whip better. You want to make the meringues in advance. In fact, I made the meringues from the egg whites left over from the golden yolk cake from a couple weeks back.
Yeah, I remember you said you were saving your eggs.
And then once you have your meringues nice and dry and crispy, you can just store them in an airtight container and have them ready to go for this recipe.
Okay, so let's go over the ingredients that you're going to need. 6 egg whites, and you're going to save those yolks for something else later. 1 cup of granulated sugar plus 1 tablespoon to sprinkle over the strawberries. My grandmother used to do this all the time. She would cut strawberries, just put sugar over them and put them in the fridge for a while. And it makes, you don't have to do anything. They make their own juices and everything else.
Delicious. It's perfect.
3 or 4 cups of strawberries, washed, stemmed, and cut into small chunks. A pint of heavy cream or the dairy-free equivalent, which is usually oat milk, because that's the creamiest that you can get. And a 1/2 cup of powdered sugar. Do you use oat milk? Is that what you use for your whipping cream?
No, it's not straight oat milk. It's actually called dairy-free heavy whipping cream.
Oh, okay. So they have that now.
And I think it's a blend of different things. But yeah, that works just fine for it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Like we said before, make the meringues first since they take so long to bake and cool. You're going to preheat your oven to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Grab 1 or 2 baking sheets and you're going to line them either with parchment paper or silpats for easy cleanup. In a large mixing bowl, beat the egg whites on high speed until they form soft peaks. You're going to continue beating them, but you're going to gradually add in the granulated sugar. Beat until the sugar is fully incorporated and the egg whites have formed stiff and shiny peaks. It's a lot of beating.
That's what she said.
Yeah. It's not hard, but it's a lot. Now, you can either spread the meringue out on the parchment paper or you can dollop it into individual meringues. It doesn't matter which form you bake it in. It just needs to be baked. But I mean, both crumble easily enough. You're going to bake your meringues for 1.5 to 2 hours. And once you get to that 1.5 hour mark, check for doneness every 10 or 15 minutes. You just don't want them to get too browned. And even if they do, you're crumbling them anyway, so it's kind of foolproof.
You just don't want to burn them.
Right. When they're finished baking, your meringue should be slightly browned and slightly cracked. You're going to turn off the oven and leave them in the oven to crisp up and cool completely. And like we said, once they're completely cool, you can store them in an airtight container to keep them crisp. Now you want a medium-sized bowl. You're going to put those strawberries in the bowl, just like Chrissy said, sprinkle the granulated sugar over top and set them aside. They'll release all that juice while they rest. You can also cook your strawberries and make a compote. If you go back to our recipe for Victoria sponge with strawberry rhubarb compote, you can use that recipe, but we don't bother. We just keep them.
I mean, why? It does it itself.
Juicy.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
So cover and refrigerate them if you're not using them immediately. Now, in the medium or large mixing bowl, you're going to beat the whipped cream until soft peaks form. You're going to add the powdered sugar and then beat that until the cream is thick and holds stiff peaks. So the powdered sugar is going to be completely incorporated and the whipped cream is going to be, and you'll know when you get there.
Yeah.
It's super thick and really holds its shape. If you're not using that immediately, again, cover and refrigerate.
Yes.
Because the thing is, you can make your Eton Mess in a trifle dish. But if it's not eaten away, the meringues get soggy, and that takes away some of the joy of the crunchy meringue and the
right. Exactly.
Over the years, I have found that it's better to assemble the components in a single serving parfait glass or a bowl right before eating.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's better just to do single serve.
Yeah. So what you're going to do is layer the whipped cream, the meringue, and then the strawberries and sort of roughly swirl them together. And then you're just going to serve and enjoy all that deliciousness. This is so good.
It's good. It's easy. It's great to take as a hostess dish with you somewhere.
Very seasonal, too. I mean, fresh strawberries and Eton Mess say spring to me.
Oh, yeah. Late spring, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Okay, so try it. You might like it. Let us know what you think. It's very pretty. Send us pictures. We'd love to see it. Okay, so let's move on to retail therapy. Retail therapy. Yeah. Okay, this week's retail therapy, it's something simple, but we love to support women-owned small business. And there is one out there from Northern California. It's called Because Teas. And they came across my Facebook. So if something comes across my Facebook, I'm going to see it.
Right.
And they have really cool tees, sweatpants that are like cotton, light cotton, hoodies, cups, tea towels, so many things.
I like the racerback tanks that they have. They're just in nice shape, nice colors. So this is Because, B-E, capital C-A-U-S-E, C-A-U-S-E. In other words, teas that support something. They have good causes. There's a lot of wild and sort of environmental themed shirts in here, but that's not what attracted us.
Nope.
We're attracted by the chicken stuff.
So I think it had like an Orpington print. They have a rooster print. They have a silky print that they use.
The rooster's a brown leghorn. Yeah. I love the Orpington because she's the busy hand and she's running.
Yeah.
A really cute illustration of a silky. And I think there's one more that I can't think of off the top of my head. But they have nice garment dyed. The tees and tanks are like a nice garment dye that has muted earthy colors, and they're just really, really pretty.
That pink I really like on there. So if you're looking to support small family-owned businesses in the U.S., this is one, Because Tees. And they have a website, so you can go check them out. Should we tell everybody what we're going to be talking about next week?
Next week, we are spotlighting, one of the cutest little buggers of all time, the Belgian Duclé Bantam.
Yes, we are.
Main topic, does keeping chickens save money on eggs?
Does it? I don't know.
And does it really matter?
Yeah, exactly. We're going to let you know.
Cracking the eggs, another British recipe. We're doing the very unusually named Scotch woodcock.
Makes me laugh every time.
It sounds delicious. And retail therapy. This is a listener request. We're talking about egg baskets.
Yes, we got a request, so we're coming at you with it. Egg baskets. So what should we tell everybody to do until next week?
Hug your chickens, ducks, and geese.
Every day, and kiss them too. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you'd like to see more of us, please follow us on Instagram at Coffee with the Chicken Ladies. If you'd like to help us grow the podcast, please leave us a written review on Apple Podcasts. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, please visit our Patreon page, patreon.com/Coffee with the Chicken Ladies. Thanks for listening.